Hi everyone, welcome to today's service, and the service is entitled Losing Jesus. We're looking at times when we believe the divine is not with us, and we're using the story of Mary losing Jesus from the temple. And the song I'm going to have played for you is one that I imagine Mary might have sung. It's very beautiful.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. There is no distance that cannot be covered over and over. You're not defenseless. I'll be your shelter, I'll be your armor. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. I hear the whisper underneath your breath. I hear you whisper you have nothing left. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. Oh, I will rescue you.
Such a beautiful song. And it's interesting because while Mary and Joseph may have felt that way about losing Jesus, we know from this story that was not true for Jesus. Before we get started on this, let's say the Lord's Prayer together and receive the comfort that we can get from that well-loved prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. You can see I got my trespasses and debts mixed up. But remember, with the Lord's Prayer, whatever prayer that you say is heard by the divine. So let's carry on now with our readings. So some of you may remember this story. This is after Christmas. This is when Jesus is about 12 years old and they go to the temple and Jesus got left behind. And you will see from this story that actually Jesus got left behind by Joseph and Mary. It wasn't that Jesus actually sort of hid from them. This is from Luke 2, verses 39 to 52. When Joseph and Mary had done everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. And the child grew and became strong. He was filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was on him. Every year Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. When he was 12 years old, they went up to the festival according to the custom. After the festival was over, while his parents were returning home, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but they were unaware of it. So here's the first lead, that he just stayed behind. Thinking he was in their company, they traveled on for a day. Then they began looking for him among their relatives and friends. When they didn't find him, they went back to Jerusalem to look for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. Everyone who heard him was amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. His mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." "Why were you searching for me?" he asked. "Didn't you know I had to be in my father's house?" But they didn't understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. But his mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. So what does this story mean to us? Well, if we look at the literal meaning of this story, you can see that it wasn't like Jesus actually avoided going home with his parents, but rather that his parents and the family laughed. And he was so totally involved with the elders, because here, while he was 12-year-old, he was divine. And so he would have probably grown a lot more quickly than we would as children. So you can imagine how frightened they were. This is why I picked that song. The song is by Lauren Daigle and it's called Rescue. You can imagine how frantic they were. And it's not like us today. We can get in cars and get somewhere quickly. They'd already traveled a day, right? So then they would have had another day to return, and then they spent 3 days looking for him. So right there's 5 days that they've already spent, plus the day to recoup the distance they'd made. So we're talking about the better part of a week to find Jesus. And I believe they didn't understand why he was here on earth. So it really gives us a picture of the distance they went and the distance emotionally they were from Jesus, and the addition, and also the remoteness for them of what his work was to be on earth. So how is this a story about us? We know from the Bible that this is a secret work that is really meant to help us understand our own journeys. So when at times do we lose Jesus in our lives? Times we're frightened, when we're angry, anything reflecting something sad or unhappy or something bad. Usually we've forgotten all about Jesus, haven't we? And we all recognize that. That's something we know in our lives as adults. So what Jesus was of course, the Messiah. And again, I'm not sure that Mary and Joseph really got that. He was able to talk with the learned men in the temple at the age of 12. No 12-year-old today could do that. Now, at Christmas, we're very aware of the fact that Messiah came down on earth to save humanity. Without it, we wouldn't be here today. But how many times do we forget? We remember it at Christmas, we remember it at Easter, but how many other times do we think about Jesus? Do we think about the divine? Do we think about what are we meant to be doing in this earth to become better people? So this is the message for us today, is we may feel that we've lost Jesus, but Jesus is always there. And now I'm going to read some other passages to you that could be comforting. This is from Isaiah 53, verse 6. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. We always love the Messiah around Christmas time, and of course there's also the Easter part of that. And in that it says we all like sheep have gone astray. Yes, we have. We're always going astray, which is why we need the divine every moment of our lives. This is from Jeremiah 50, verse 6. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have led them astray and caused them to roam on the mountains. They wandered over mountain and hill and forgot their own resting place. So often humans are referred to as sheep. We're like sheep who went astray. We're lost sheep. And sheep, of course, are wonderfully easygoing animals, aren't they? They're really willing to be led. I'm not sure as human beings we're always willing to be led, but they certainly are led, but of course they can be led astray too. And this is from Ezekiel, which illustrates that. Ezekiel 34, verses 6, 12, 16, and 31. My sheep wandered over all the mountains and on every high hill. They were scattered over the whole earth, and no one searched or looked for them. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock when he's with them, so will I look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness. I will seek what was lost and bring back what was driven away, bind up the broken and strengthen what was sick. You are my sheep, the sheep of my pasture, and I am your God, declares the sovereign Lord. Yes, indeed, he's our God, and he loves us more than anyone else. This is from Matthew 9, verse 36. When Jesus saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Remember, the story of Easter is so profound and such a reflection of our lives. There on Palm Sunday, they all cheered, oh, here comes the king. But again, their picture of the king was, the king is going to get rid of the Romans and we're going to be the most important people after all. And of course, unfortunately, that was not why Jesus came on earth. His reason for coming on earth was completely spiritual. Of course, he healed people, but you can bet you when they were healed physically, they were also healed emotionally and spiritually, and that's why Jesus came on earth. As it says in Matthew 15, verse 24, he answered, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Yep. Or Matthew 18, verses 12 and 13. What do you think if a person owns 100 sheep and one of them wanders away? Will they not leave the 99 on the hills and go to look for the one that wandered off? And if they find it, truly I tell you, they're happier about that one sheep than about the 99 that didn't wander off. I have a feeling that it would probably be more than one sheep wandering away. They do tend to follow each other. And this is Jesus trying to explain to the disciples why he was here. John 10, verse 7. Therefore Jesus said again, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. And the other part of that is he talks about, if the sheep hear my voice, they will obey me, but not if some stranger says something. And lastly, Luke 15 verses 9 to 10. And when she had found it, she calls her friends and neighbors together, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I found the piece which I lost. Likewise, I say to you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents." This is the story of the woman who loses the coin. Now we know that in the Bible, this isn't really about a coin, is it? It could be that we lost our integrity. It could be we lost our trust in the divine. It could be we just plain lost our way spiritually. And we are so happy when that comes back. And we know, of course, it's the divine who gives it to us that way. Amen. May the divine bless you all. May you feel that comfort. May you discover Jesus in the temple and be happy that you found the divine in your lives. God bless you all. Amen.